It'll pop up later.
Oh, no, okay.
All right, man. We're giving this a try. We're going live to talk about the Mike Muscala trade, bro. What do you know? How is this going to work?
Well, let's just go over the trade as people are starting to join here. We just traded Mike Muscala to the Boston Celtics for Justin Jackson and two second round picks. To me, this is uh, a simple trade in the aspect of there's not much exchanging hands, but I personally think that this is a bigger play happening here. There's more happening behind the scenes. I don't know if that means that there's going to be and we're just opening up a roster spot. But I don't think that Justin Jackson has any indication of staying here, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I do think there's going to be a buyout, and that opens up a roster spot. So whether we pulling up Lindy Waters to go full time for the Thunder, or there's another trade possibility for Baisley that there's a lot of rumors out right now.
So you tell me what you think it means for other guys. It seemed to me like Moose was one of those veteran, untouchable guys. So is this a result of maybe Jay Will exceeding expectations?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Jay Will has really stepped up in a big way as of recently and shown what he can do, making it so that I really clearing the way for him to be able to play like he's going to be able to play coming up. Um, I'm obviously a Moose fan. I don't want to see this. I did not like
Yeah.
to see it.
It's a good situation for him, though.
But yeah, he's got an opportunity to go compete for a championship, only playing half the year. He's healthy, and if he really likes playing with us, then he'll come back next year, and that's cool for me. Like it's all about recognizing we could get and maxing out. We got two for or second round picks for him. I think that's great for what Mike can bring to the table for us.
All right. So on the court, the product will be different because Moose has been relied on really heavily by Coach over the last few weeks, especially.
But
So,
insert JRE or J Will, and these guys are all stepping up. So for me, it's
so
clear that
JRE, we're
he's
hearing he's back playing well at the G League. So that's it's you think Moose is getting squeezed out and into a really good situation where maybe he can get a ring.
I agree. I think that for him, this is an opportunity to go and do what he needs to do. Um, Obviously, the Celtics are one of the better teams in the East, especially after the Nets just dismantled their team. So, I mean, I man, go for it. Why not? Like, get an opportunity to get some great experience as a leader out there, and then hopefully come back to Oklahoma City and teach the guys what you learned.
All right, so let's talk about the Celtics. How does Mike help the
Oh,
Celtics?
dope TV. We have Mike Muscala get traded to Boston Celtics for a trade package of Justin Jackson and two second round picks. So that's all that's uh, going on right now. But man, it's
So
great.
what about this? Does this mean other players are going to get traded soon? Do you think this is the beginning, or
I I think this is the beginning. I think this is the first move. I think that with every first move that there's something else going on. Now, I don't know if that means that Sam Presti is going out looking for OG. I don't know if that means that Sam Presti is going out looking for somebody else like that. But for me, this is just a move that opens up a roster spot that we're not cutting anybody and we're sending somebody to a good situation. So
so
yeah,
Russ? Is it going to be Russ?
I thought about that, and I kept on going back to what Russ could bring to us the second half of the season. But Russ wants to stay in LA. I think that is where Russ is going. I think Russ is going to be with the Clippers. I think he's going to stay there. So I think we're talking about a different situation. And I keep going back to Baisley's lack of playing time as of recently, and wondering if this is precursor to something else is going on, because it could be one of those situations where we trade Baisley and a couple second round picks and we get, a pretty good talented or a couple young talented players in return. So
Do you think maybe it's also to open up a spot for Baszler to get more burn, or do you? That's not what you're thinking.
I listen. If this is the opportunity to get Baisley more playing time, then it is. It's us committing to Baisley. Sam Presti committing to Baisley, and I can't hate that move at all. Like if that's what this is creating space for Baisley, then hell yeah, like sign me up, and I want to see what Baisley can do.
So with this extra roster spot, do you have any ideas how we might use it, or do you think it's going to be a part of a big trade? Maybe even bringing I don't know.
Well,
some big name in.
we gotta go back to the history of what Sam Presti has done. Now, um, typically when he opens up a roster spot this late in the season, he's going to our G League or G League affiliate and picking up a guy and promoting him. We've seen it happen before with players last couple of years, but I think this is a different situation we have on our hands. Is that we're still so much time left in the trade deadline, and there's so many players that are available. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Presti is trying to get himself and moved into a position that he can be part of a bigger trade, not necessarily bringing the better players back, but bringing in extra money or whatever to get extra draft picks during the situation. So I mean, there's so many teams that are desperate right now. If you think about it, you have Suns just made a huge move and really propelling them to the top of the West, in my opinion. You have Memphis that's looking at it and saying, "Hey, we got to make a move." You have Denver saying, "We got to make a move." It's creating a market right now. So what that market is, I don't know, but I do think that it would be silly for us not to think that Sam Presti isn't at this point, looking at every option. And if Baisley is adding a piece to that trade, great. If that means Baisley staying here and we're committing and double down on Baisley and signing him to a longer contract, hell yeah, I'm all for it. But how does this change our team? I don't necessarily know if it changes the team as much as the locker room. Um,
Yeah.
he brought, Mike Muscala brought so much to the locker room. He brought so much energy, so much love, so much passion for the game. So that's going to be a punch in the stomach. But what Jay Will's doing, I got to say, I want to see Jay Will playing 25 to 30 minutes a game. And I think one of the reasons that he has to clear out, Mike Muscala is because of that. With JRE, Mike Muscala, Poku, and Jay Will's not going to get 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes a game.
So going back to the beginning of our time with Mike Muscala, right? You remember he signed up when the team was quite different, and then they offered to let him out of the contract, and he decided to stick around for this rebuilding phase. And pretty incredible how much he means to us already because these were difficult years, but he was there as a pillar of NBA professionalism, and we're always going to appreciate that. That was something that we didn't have at that moment, and he had the option to back out, and he chose to stay. And I mean, I think we're going to see him in the front office someday.
Yeah, absolutely. I do too. And that's what I've been saying all along is Mike belongs in that front office. He's an incredibly intelligent human being and he understands the game. And one day I'm hoping we will. And maybe this is the route that he needs, the first step that he needs to get that championship ring to really make him an elite front office person. So I'm hoping so.
Yeah, go
Dollar
ahead.
Baby, I want to throw out here. Dollar Baby threw up an idea. He said Lou Dort, Trey Mann, Darius Baisley, two first round picks for Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges. I'll be honest with you. I don't think we're blowing up any more of our team. This was not a core trade. This was a um, trading Mike Muscala. He's not part of that core. I look at him as being a fringe player on that like top fringe of it being in our top 10. So saying that we're going to blow up the team right now, listen, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson are great players, but I'm not giving up Lou Dort for either one of those guys. Lou Dort is a future player for this Thunder team. The defense he brings, the leadership he brings, the way he attacks the hole, the way he can shoot when he's on. There's no reason that we're trading Lou Dort for Mikal Bridges or Cam Johnson at this point. And that's just because I look at Lou Dort as being one of those players that, with the elite defense that he plays on, four positions, you can't go and buy that or replace that. So at this point, I think Sam Presti's staying focused, and if he's going to trade a player, it's going to be a player that is like Mike Muscala, that's getting an average of like 9 minutes a game that he's playing out there, and or a Baisley or something like that. The core is set. The core is just keeping those guys together as long as possible.
So over the last, couple of weeks, really, or months, we've seen Moose really get so much more playing time. So, a little while ago, if he had been traded, it would have been like, well, that doesn't really change what we're seeing out in the court that much.
Yeah.
But now we know it will. And I think it means that coach is going to have to lean a lot heavier on J. Will, JRE, Baisley, and or even the small ball Kenny lineups.
Mm-hmm.
So that is exciting to me, even though it's really sad to see Moose go. I'm happy that he's going to be in a good spot, maybe get a ring, and be reunited with Al Hortford, and that should be a really great time.
I think that has a lot to do with him going there is Al Harford. I mean, he was there in Oklahoma City for a year, watching him, with the guys. obviously there's issues going on in that locker room, and you need a stable locker room to be able to help you through that playoff push. So I think that goes hand in hand. I really like this. I'm just reading this. Um, Johnson, man, I agree. I like this move for Boston. I do.
Hmm.
Boston needed to get a shooter like this, and they didn't pay a huge price for it because working with Sam Presti sometimes is beneficial for other teams. This is one of those situations, and I felt like we got a fair price for what we got, and especially if this is a part of a bigger trade in the long run, then we got a really, really good deal.
And look at what we've been able to do with second round picks. Recently we can trade two of them to move up one, a few, or we can, that's what we did with JRE, or we could wait and we can use at the end of the draft and get a guy like Wiggins.
Yep.
Um, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at too. Is that you look at the last three second round picks that we've used,
Yeah.
and if that's what we're using our second round picks for, then I have no problems with this Mike Muscala trade. James Knight, good morning. Hope you have a great morning. Get some coffee inside of you. Have a good breakfast as well. You always can start off with a good breakfast. But man, I appreciate you saying you love our show. We really truly love our Australian listeners. You guys know the game, and we just really appreciate that you guys come around and are so positive about this Thunder team.
Yeah, man, we just got done recording a podcast comparing Giddy to Magic Johnson. It was a lot of fun. And then this news came out, and we're like, let's jump on and just talk some because Moose was special. But let's face it, in the end, this isn't like a shift of the power of the team. It's just a shift of the locker room presence and coaches. Maybe we'll call him a safety blanket. That I think Mike was a lot like a safety blanket for coach.
Yeah. I mean, he was only a few years younger than Coach, too, which it always helps to have a player that buys into the system that's around the same age with a young team. But again, I really hope the best for Mike. I hope that he goes and wins a championship in a ring. And then I hope he comes back because, to me, I would love for him to be able to win a championship and bring what he knows, the knowledge that he knows and learned there in Boston and teach it to these guys because it's that next gear. And anybody that knows about that next gear and understands that next gear is powerful. So, yeah.
So what else, man? We have what 3.5 hours until the trade deadline.
Yeah. I mean,
About
there's trades happening all over right now. So you've got, but nothing with the Thunder. So that's going to stay.
well, I think this is a clear sign that we're players in the upcoming
Yeah,
trade
it has to be.
deadline. Yep.
Like if you don't think we're players in the trade deadline right now, I don't know what else to say to you. I felt like if we traded Moose, and I think I don't know if we talked about this or I was talking to Blake, but if we traded Moose, that was our first domino to
Yeah.
something else. Because if we traded Baisley, it was like okay, Baisley needs to go someplace else. But trading Moose, it tells me that there's something else in the grand scheme of things. And listen, if that just means that, like you said, clearing space for Baisley or clearing space for J. Will, again, that's about bigger scenes. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be interesting.
You know what they say, man? Nut up or shut up.
Yeah, no.
And Sam Presti's nutting up right now, bro.
What is his famous quote? Broke money.
Scared money don't make none.
Yeah,
And look, I think that you're right. I think right now we're looking for a way to get into some of these first round picks that are being handed out for taking on money. I don't think we're just going to give away that spot to a player. I think we're going to make a team work for it, baby.
I think you have to. I mean, I think that's what Sam Presti does is that he recognizes that there's too many pieces that are being moved right now. Not enough salary cap, and he recognizes that. And I think that he's being smart by one, opening up space to make a trade, and then two is we have the cap space and whatever else that we need to accumulate another draft pick. And if that means that we get an extra draft pick for this draft, it just helps us move up when it's all said and done. So I mean, I'm all for this. I'm all for what Sam
Mhm.
Presti's doing. I'm all for, I hate seeing Mike
Yeah.
leave, but I listen. There's three places in the NBA when Sam Presti sends a player, I get excited for him, and Boston is one of them because
Yeah.
the culture there is great for players and is great to see. So for Mike, this is a great move. I'm excited for him, and I think you look good in green.
Yeah. We love him. We're going to miss him, but we want the best for him. What else you got, bro? I think we're pretty much done. If you got any more comments, let's read those.
Yeah. Rob 617. How is Mike's defense? Listen, as of recently, the way he plays is really really hard. He's super
Right.
physical.
Moves his feet.
Yeah, he moves his feet. He can play the power forward or the center position, which is very unique for a guy his size. And I listen. He's going to hold his own in Boston, no problems
He'll
at
set
all.
up a lot of blocks for weak side help defenders just because he has really he plays straight up whenever somebody's coming at him. I've seen him take full blown drives right on the chest and not lose his verticality, which is important. It's so
Yep.
important. So he's really good at defending without fouling and having good position. He's not going to get a lot of block shots, but he can hold his own.
Yeah, and I think I do think with Mike's defense is the way that he understands like the spreading out of the ball, right? The way that we play defense there, and then on top of that, we saw him just a few games ago hit 4 or 5 threes in a quarter.
Yeah.
So Rob 16 like or 617, like you guys. I mean, you guys are getting a really high end big man as far as he's rested. He hasn't played a lot this season, and he's ready to go, and he's going to put some big minutes in there.
And he hunts his shot. That's where obviously everybody knows you're going to get Mike Muscala 3 point shooting. That's the skill that you want, but he really hunts it. And there's a process that every guard with the Celtics are going to learn, and that's just basically how to find him as a trail or a popper and the pick and roll. But when he catches the ball and he has a few feet, like that shot is going up. And recently, like we've seen him, put up games where it's been like 15, 20 points regularly, which
Right.
for him has been, he kind of flirts with his career high on a regular basis, but he doesn't go out there and shoot a ton of shots. If he gets up 9 shots in a game, seven of those are going to be threes. And pretty regularly, he's going to, hit 4 of them, which is what the Celtics would really like is just another floor stretcher, especially from that big position.
Oh yeah, and just going over the trade with everybody that's joining us, Mike Muscala got traded to Boston Celtics for a package that includes Justin Jackson and 2 second-round picks. You know, we kind of are. I feel like this could be a bigger move that's happening. Mark feels that this is clearing space for our younger guys and Baisley and Jay Will. Either way, it's a positive. This is a good thing that we're looking at. Sam Presti, I don't want to say he's done with Mike Muscala because I think there's a history there and there's going to be a continued history. But with Mike Muscala getting a chance to get a ring is really big, and I like it. I think again this is a big fit for Boston and it's a big fit for Sam Presti and it's a win for Sam Presti because he's sending a player where everybody's going to be able to appreciate him and love him and another big win for Sam.
We hope you guys love him in Boston as much as we loved him. I know that's not really possible, but the level of professionalism that he brings to work every single day. I heard him talking about this season coming up, and he was just saying that when he talked to Coach before the season, he said, "Coach, I don't want to know if I'm going to play any given night." He said that last season he would tell him in advance. He's like, "I want to prepare every day like I'm going to play, irregardless." And I think that's a rarity in the league, and especially for a man his age. But that's what he's going to bring, and he's going to be ready anytime his number is called.
Yeah, and Logan, we used to know this basketball player when I was in high school. His nickname was A1,
Yeah.
like A1 sauce, right? He could dunk, and none of us could dunk. So, anyways, but we also called him Awesome One too. So A1 Awesome One, or whatever you want to say. It was great, man. I like it. So I like what you're saying, Logan. Mike is A1. I agree. He's the awesome one.
Yeah, he's so reliable, so consistent, such a good presence, and with a young coach having, a really consistent level of presence, you can't have too many of those guys. So you're gonna like him in Boston. But for the Thunder, bro, you mentioned that I was like, well, this is gonna be, for Baisley. Yes and no. I don't want to get too carried away with how much I think Baisley's gonna get more minutes. It could be that we keep him on the roster and then Baisley doesn't even get more minutes. But I know Jay will get more minutes. I know JRE is going to get out there and run some more. And I know that there's going to be a lasting impact from Mike Muscala.
Yep.
I also know that we have an opportunity to go get another player. We're going to be big time players, maybe looking to get another draft pick for taking on money and doing a buyout like we did with Kemba Walker. Maybe getting a player like Kenny Williams that can, grow into a role and then eventually, be a really big star in his role for us. Maybe get additional second round picks and we can see us building our war chest because we can see what we've done with those in the past. There's so many options, but from now to the trade deadline, watch out because anything could happen.
Yeah, and Landon Lakes, I appreciate you joining us. Being a Boston fan, I I love Boston. I look at teams that build teams properly, and Boston is one of those organizations that's built it properly. So whenever we see one of our very beloved players go to an organization that's run properly, we get incredibly excited. To us, it's a family, it's a community, and so whenever we have an opportunity to see these guys go to really good situations, we get excited, we get pumped for them. And it's gonna be fun to be able to cheer for the Celtics in the playoffs, knowing that Mike is going to be over there playing some great minutes and big minutes because I think he's going to be more effective than anybody else on your bench as far as big guys that you have right now.
Damn. I mean, that's pretty valuable then. If they can find that level of consistency and being, a professional at the highest level. But you're right. I mean, I think Brad Stevens knows what he's doing right now. And I'm just glad that people keep making deals with Sam Presti because sometimes you think that teams are afraid of making deals with him.
And let's go. We've got Ethan says thoughts on Justin Jackson coming into the Thunder's organization. He's
I
been here
love Justin
before.
Jackson.
Yeah, he's been here before. Mark and I have actually known him since he's been a freshman in high school. We've known him for his family for a very long time. So anytime that we have an opportunity to talk praises about Justin Jackson, we obviously do so because knowing a young player like that when
And
we met him a freshman in high school and started helping him with his game, it's powerful.
And a lot of people, you got to take a time. Remember, his time with the Thunder ended with a trade to Milwaukee. But before he got traded to Milwaukee, he won a game for the Thunder
Mm.
by shooting incredible from deep. And I think it left an imprint on Milwaukee. Milwaukee went and got him, and he ended up getting a ring for being on that team. So it's a pretty crazy experience. So Justin went away, picked up a ring, has played for the Celtics. So maybe we keep him because that ring is some experience. He's a really good person. He's a really good player. But in the end, he never panned out to be like the level that everybody thought he could. But if you look at what he did in college, you look at what he did, even when he played for the Thunder, there's some real talent there, and he could be the right type of guy. So I hope we keep him. But let's be honest, we both think that he won't be on the
I,
roster.
I really want Lindy Waters to be promoted. Lindy
Yeah.
Waters has done so much for this organization already, and I really like him. Huge fan of Lindy Waters. The fact that he's what we call homegrown boy is huge for the state of Oklahoma to have somebody like that representing the state. So I would like to see Lindy Waters get promoted, but then again, we still have 3.5 hours until the trade deadline's done, and I don't think that this is Sam Presti saying, "I'm all right, guys, I'm done." I think this is Sam Presti saying, "I have a roster spot available. How can I help you?"
Well, unless you got something else, man, I'm gonna keep everything set up in case something happens and we can jump on as fast as fucking possible. But what do you got, man? You ready to be done?
Man, do we have anything else anybody wants to talk about before we head off? I know there's like a 10-second delay here, but I want to make sure that we answer all your questions before we go because, Mike Muscala is going to leave a scar for us. Mike Muscala is going to hurt us leaving, and I want to make sure everybody's cool with it. And, we had Trey Mann. A question is Trey Mann in any danger of being traded? Listen, if you're young core, if you're a first or second year and you're the last, I would say 10 draft picks, I don't think you have any
And
fear of being moved right now.
unless you request it. And I could see him thinking that the grass was greener on the other side, but I also have seen him mature so much. I think that we're in a spot where we're keeping Trey. He's proven a lot recently, although he didn't get a lot of playing time against the Lakers. Like remove that, and it's like, well, he's been playing great. The coach shortened the bench. That's what happened.
Yeah, and coach shortened the bench and Trey Mann, like I don't want to say he made silly mistakes, but there was a couple like just lapses in his judgment. And when that happens, that always messes with players, man. And then coach pulled him out of the game, got him reset. Listen, if Trey Mann's done with this organization, it's going to make me very sad. All the players that are in their second year or third year or younger, in my opinion, are untradeable because you don't know what these guys are going to turn out to be, and we're still developing players. So we're not going to trade any of the players that we're developing. We're going to keep these guys and see what happens because for me, it takes 3 or 4 years to be able to judge how good a player is going to be.
Well, I think that's a good point. I think there's probably a little bit of like fear for everybody, that their favorite young player who hasn't really, you know, arrived yet is on the way out. But I look at this as kind of the opposite. This is one of the older players, and when you do this, it's because you're opening up opportunities for other players, not
Well,
because you're trying to, like you said, rebuild or start over or do a tear down really fast. Like, yeah, they're gonna miss Moose, but in the end, Jay Will makes me so excited that I mean I can't even think about anything about like the future of this team without thinking that that's what makes me the most excited is that these young players have proven that they're ready for more minutes.
That's it. That's it. I mean, that's how we have to leave it like that. Is the young players have made it so that the older players are getting less time. Whether that's Dort getting less time because of J Dub, or that's um, Kenny Hustle getting less time because of J Dub, or whoever. It's just, to me, this is exactly where we're at, and this is why we got to continue doing what we're doing with this Thunder team and watching these guys develop. Yeah, thank you, Landon. We appreciate you stopping in, man.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate everybody. We will be back as soon as something else happens. So stay tuned. We'll see you guys soon.